Good morning. Welcome to the mysteries of life, the spiritual mysteries of life. And today is a blessed day for all of us. And I'm going to ask you to just take and sit in your quietness and yourself. And not going to do a meditation. I just want you to get into yourself and kind of shoot that monkey mind out of your mind and just get quiet and feel good about yourself and say, this is your time and you're going to share it with me today and my spiritual workers. And we're going to talk about angels today. I got up this morning and I thought, well, I don't know where I'm going or what I'm going to talk about, but here we are. And but I am going to share some things, and I would like you to share the show if you'd like to. We would appreciate that. And at the same time, I'd like to just thank, last night I listened to Polly Jo LeBay, and what a wonderful event that was. And she pulled a card, and it was the universe card, and it was enlightening, needless to say. And on Tuesday night, when we had our meditation with Neshe, that was just phenomenal. And so we've had some really great shows, and I hope you all just find time to, if you can't get in at the time that they're on, at least get into the archives or YouTube and listen to them, because they're just phenomenal. And tonight, Carl and Orthram Franklin are going to be on their show tonight at 8 o'clock. So we have a lot of things going on with Star Nations, and we're very grateful for all of you for tuning in and listening, and you're all blessed, and we are blessed to have you. So going further with this, in 1954, there was a book written, The Seven Archangels, and it was The Bridge to Freedom. That's how I look at that book. It was, and I looked at the back of the book and I thought, oh, I always date things. And I thought, oh, this is too old. But anyway, in 1987 is when I was given this book. And I've carried it with me forever. And when I gave a huge amount of my books to Denise for her libraries up there in Michigan, before I was when I was getting ready to move, because I didn't know where I was going, what I was doing, and I didn't want to transport books. And but this one, a few books spoke out at me and said, you may not give this one away. You have to keep it. So that's one of my books that I've worked with. And of course, my friend Nellie Kane, who wrote Exploring the Mysteries of Life in 1970. And one of the things that when I started this show 2 years ago, I said if I could use the information from her book to help me, because she channeled the eternal flame, and all of the information that was given to her at that time was like ground. It was on the ground floor. And so I have used that. I've tried to incorporate a lot of that into what I do here on my show, and the knowing of the I am presence. I have been talking about that for a long time, and I'm hoping that just one little spark of that, if it touches your soul, I feel I have just tapped in. And like I've told you before, if there's something that you hear and you just can't grab it, just put it on the shelf and you'll come back to it. I promise you. I have been doing this work for a very, very long time, and I'm very blessed. Now this morning, I don't normally do this kind of stuff, but I thought, because Polly Jo pulled cards last night, and I thought, I'm going to talk about the angels this morning. And I thought, I'm going to pull a card from the angel deck. And I ended up pulling the Archangel Muriel. And I thought, well, how ironic is that? Because the daily mantra is, I'm in balance with life. I am strong, sensible, and wise. Now, I thought to myself, that's what we all need. We need our balance. We need to just be. In the essence, when you think about the word be, B-E, 2 letters, just be. And when you can pull yourself into that oneness. And as I was going through some of my documents and I was shredding stuff back, I found a paper that I had written. And one I can't read to you today because I wrote some of it in shorthand, and I can't remember my shorthand, so I have to try to figure out what I was writing back then. But I want to read this to you. And I wrote this on July the 29th, 1978. Now, some of you probably weren't even conceived at this time, but let me tell you, some of you were teenagers. And so you were probably just awakening yourselves. And here I was sitting there. And I remember I was out in my backyard sitting in a chair. And I can remember Spirit saying to me, Connie, get the pencil, paper, start writing. So, and it was Joy to the World. Now, that's how I titled it, Joy to the World. Peace and harmony to all those who will allow us to permeate their consciousness. Choice is yours. The choice is yours. Allow yourself to be at peace in the oneness. Shadow of your mind. Replenish your ideas with the neatness of the universe. Hold to the truth. Let only that which applies permeate your minds. Remember, you are of the light world, and you are existing in the world of darkness only for the purpose of shedding light to the world. We are ready to make your world that which you have earned. So relax, enjoy, and do what your Father has chosen you to do. The road may seem troublesome and devious, but you must shut out all thoughts that are able to permeate the universal consciousness. We are all light bearers and are able to help one another, to withhold all consciousness to a level far beyond your understanding of the world, a frequency that not everyone will be able to handle. It is our hope that all will give what they receive, only to bring again up the level of consciousness. Hope is a word that with harmoniously will, with the omnipotent peace, be eternal. Faith is believing that you are God, that you can do anything, for the Christ Lordship is within you. Now, that was pretty heavy-duty stuff for a gal back in 1978. And little did I realize that all of the things that we do in this life and how we handle them and all the lessons. And I think back on issues and things that I have done. There's some things that I'm not too proud of, but what I've learned to do is what I want you to think about, because this is important, is that you love yourself and forgive yourself. You don't have to go out there and forgive the world. They tell you you need to do that. And really, in essence, I suppose that does help humanity. But the real key is yourself, because that's what your purpose here is, how you walk the walk, how you talk the talk, and how you trust. And the discernment, when we have, no matter what, they are always talking about the discernment in the spirit world, but we also have discernment in the physical world that we have to be aware of. And we have to keep walking and keep ourselves in that oneness. When I wrote this paper back in 1978, it just didn't resonate, I don't think, with me, to where today, when I found this paper about a month ago, and I thought to myself, oh, Connie, that's what people are talking about today. This is what we're trying to drive. And here you were sitting in your chair writing this back in 1978, just because Spirit told you to write it. And I'm not sure. There's and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. Johanna. It's a Yohanna or something like that. I'm not sure what that represents, but I think I remember someone saying that that's another word, and may not be pronouncing it correctly, for God or Lord. So anyway, like I said, I don't know where that came from, but it just came out of the spirit world into my hand and on paper. And so that's really and I had the other one that I'll have to try to figure out what it is, but, and I was shocked that I found these documents. I must have had more, but over the years have gotten lost. And how I ended up getting this one was kind of freaky, but I thought to myself, well, okay, here we are. So one of the things too that, some of you know, that I study music, and so it's hard when you get older. It's hard to tell like in my case, I'm trying to learn how to play the piano, and to get that left hand of mine to talk to my right side of my brain, so that we can get these things going at the same time. So that's been my biggest challenge when it comes. I can read the notes and I can do all that stuff, but I cannot, for the life of me, when it comes to putting those two hands together. They fight, and it's kind of funny, because I'll think to myself, now listen, we have to get this program up and running here, because my teacher's getting a little disgusted with me because she thinks I'm not doing my work, but in reality I am, and it's hard. It's trying to get those fingers to do what you want them to do in your brain. And it's like I say, sometimes they have to get that monkey mind out of the way and say, okay, now we're going to work on this and get it done right, and we'll get there, and we'll get it there. But it's fun, and I love it. And I have a new job. I don't know if I told you all that. I've been doing it now for 2.5 months, and work 16 hours a week, and I'm absolutely loving it. And it's good for me. It's good for my brain. It's a challenge, but I'm doing good. And I got a great boss. Couldn't ask for a nicer guy. And when I was working at the church, I really thought that was my last job. And little did I know that the Lord said, no, well, we got something else cooking for you. And so I've been here 4 years, and then all of a sudden, it's just like Spirit tells me to do things. Like they'll say, clear the decks. Okay, all right. So I clear the decks, and then the show came, and then it was other things. So okay, now get rid of that. Don't fret on that. Get rid of that. And the next thing you know, all of a sudden, I got a job. It's like, hey, this is pretty cool. But it's what He wants for me at this point in time. And I can be of service to this individual and help them. That was the key. And I thought to myself, because I thought, if this has to be just a mundane job, I don't want it. But if I can see that I can service and help them, then it's worth me to go in and do it. And I could see that after we talked, and I thought, okay, yeah, this will be a challenge, but I think I'm up for it. And so here I am, and I'm loving it. And still doing my spiritual things, and I could not, and I have to give Spirit a lot of credit, because I'm creating things at work that I could not have known, and so Spirit has been guiding me every day that I'm there and directing me. And then I come out of there and I'll just say, thank you so very much. I appreciate all the work that you all did for me and getting me up and going. And that's the thing that I want to share with you today. When I talk about where are you going in your life? What are you trying to accomplish? Put yourself out there and say, you can step out of the box a little bit and say, okay, now it's okay for me to listen. It's okay for me to hear the spirits. It's okay. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, you're going nuts, or you shouldn't be doing that. Oh, don't be doing that. If you do things properly, and in the Bible it tells us to discern our stuff. And so, absolutely, no matter what it is, whoever you come in contact with and they're trying to sell you something, you step back and you say, well, gee, I don't know if I'm ready to buy that. Well, it's the same thing in the spirit world. You sit back and you say, well, gee, I'm listening to all this stuff and I'm listening and I want to be, but are you really, is that where you really want to be? Because if you are just paddling along, then that's what you'll do. But if you really want the spirit to grow spiritually, to raise to your higher self, to that Christ consciousness, you have to give it your all. You have to give it your all. Just like when you go to work and you put in 8 hours a day, you give it your all. Well, the same thing has to apply in your spiritual work, in your spiritual journey. The whole process of what we're going through in this day and age with the things that are going on in the world are terrifying, fearful. Oh, it's awful. The young people today are fighting they're just, it's terrible. But what do we have to do? We have to love. Love has to factor in there. You have to somehow build and take the fear out and replace it with love. Unconditional love, no matter what. And it's hard. This is in this third dimension. That's why it's, I'll have to tell you, and this is just Spirit's giving this to me, so I'm going to give it out, is that Carl Franklin did a regression with me, or we did something together, and he told me, he said, Connie, he said, you're spending 48 or 49% of your time in the fourth dimension, and for I don't know how many for the fifth dimension. I'm spending like 40 some percent. He says, you're about 3% in the third dimension, girl. So he says, that's why you're having such a hard time. And I thought to myself, well, it's just that I was not realizing that. I had no idea that my struggles and what I was trying to work through in my life were really, I'm in the fourth and fifth dimensions most of my time. And I'm thinking, well, then what do I do with the third? I must have just passed it on by, because then I think of my little note here that I wrote back in 1978. And I thought to myself, oh, Connie. And a friend of mine said, because, of course, Connie is the nickname for Constance. And the individual says, but you are constant. You may be Constance, but you are constant. You're there. And I thought to myself, wasn't that nice? That was a nice blessing. So as we're moving along, and when I talk about the angels, and I talk primarily when I started working, it was Uriel. And it didn't hit me till this morning when I was sitting in my meditation, and he said, you know why I've been there for you. Forgiveness. Christianity is working in the forgiveness realm. And that's where I am. I'm here to help raise that consciousness, to bring it all together. And you have had to learn, because you haven't always been 100% yourself. So you have had to learn to forgive others, and then go within yourself and forgive yourself and love yourself. And that's where I'm at. I tell you, I have cast my mortal mind right out of my body and threw it into the great sea. I did. And said, when it comes back, I want it to be Christ. I want it to be in the Christ processing. I don't want it to be out there in the material world. I don't need that. I want the Christ consciousness within me. And that's what I'm asking and trying to share with you, is that no matter what you do, it's the Christ that you're trying to reach. It's his love. It's his knowing. It's the God, the Father, the heavenly realms that are giving us the ability to be here today and to do what we're doing. They want everybody to be in tune, and they want us to wake up to the fact that we are so special. He loves us all. Nobody's going to be discarded. Nobody is. He doesn't want it. It's just that in this third dimension, the evolution of, and we've come many evolutions here trying to get us to where we are today. And I think about it and I laugh, because in my lifetime, I've seen a lot of things change. Just like when I told you the story about me going into Publix grocery store, and there was so much, it must have been during Easter, because there was just so many people, and I thought, oh, I'm not going to stand in line. So I took myself and I went to the news rack, and there I'm standing there looking, and all of a sudden I see this Newsweek magazine, and on it had, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, am I seeing that for real? Pulled it up, and here it has a body symbolizing sitting in a yoga position with all the chakras on it, and the articles are all about Oprah Winfield visiting John of God in Brazil, and all these things, and the crystals and the stones, and I'm thinking to myself, how now in my day that was not happening. And I thought, look at that. I have been able to see that in my lifetime. And so now all of you who are young and knowing that you're planting your feet strong on the ground, know that Mother Earth is there to support you. And Father Sky is there to give you the air, the breath that you need to be who you are. And all of this, it makes me wonder sometimes, just how did we get here? How did we just do this? It's just too phenomenal. And it's just like, isn't it wonderful that we are here, that we're able to do things? And I had an experience with a friend, and we channeled, and I think I shared that with y'all. And I actually spoke in tongues, and that individual was able to interpret. And I just about flipped out, because I had no idea that I could do that I was even programmed to do that. And and then I had to ask one of my friends, and Neshi, because I heard white buffalo woman. And I thought, white buffalo woman, and that didn't, and I thought, okay. So I just kind of moved over and let the person, the entity in, and let them talk. Now, it wasn't very long. It was short, brief, and to the point. Now, when I was talking to Neshi, and they told me the story, then I did research on it and read about it. And it's like the woman came to give information, and then that she disappeared and became the white calf. And then she became known as the white buffalo calf woman. And that has nothing to do with me, but the spirit of that came through me. And I thought that was pretty phenomenal, because I didn't know. I thought, oh, isn't that cool? And, as a kid, I used to go in Michigan they had a spot there over by Granville, where it was the Indians' burial grounds or something. And there was something there with the Indians. And I can remember as a young person, I was always drawn to that and trying to figure out and always reading about different things. And I thought, well, there must be some link back there that I don't know about. So I probably ought to do some research and do that. What do they call it? Where you do your astrology and your DNA to see now, what I am and who I am. So, but it was just one of those things that you just say to yourself, where do you want to be? What do you want to do with your life? Start making those changes now. Don't wait until you're a senior citizen. I look at myself and I think, oh, I'm excited about it now because look at me, I'm doing all kinds of things and I'm getting involved in different things. And I'm thinking, look at this woman. And I'm thinking, I have so much to live for that, it's just like, oh no, don't be cutting my time short here because I'm having too much fun. And so that's what I want for you folks, is to have fun when you're doing this and know that life can and will give to you the things that you need and are looking for. I just sometimes have to pinch myself because it's like Spirit is saying to me every day, we love you, Connie, just the way you are. You don't have to be anybody different. We just love you, who you are and what you're doing. And so I'm thinking, okay, that's pretty cool. And so as we're moving and growing, if there's music that touches your soul, incorporate it. Sometimes I think back in the 80s when I was doing a lot of singing, and I sang One Moment in Time for a shrine potentate in the Masonic order, or the shrine order. I don't know how they refer to that anymore. But anyway, I can remember him saying to me, Connie, do you think you can hit that high note? And I kind of laughed and I said, yeah, I can hit the note. So I said, don't worry about it. And then the night of the performance, they said, we can't find it. And of course, they said, we don't have a piano. And I said, no piano? I said, I'm not singing if I don't have a piano. And somebody said, okay. So anyway, for the next thing you know, and we're in a Masonic building. So the next thing you know, somebody goes to a different floor and they bring up a piano to the amphitheater. And so okay, we're going to sing now. So I said, okay, fine. And so it was just before it was time for me to take and go and step down and go onto the main floor, because I had to stand between the potentate and his wife. And then there was an altar, and then I had to stand north, just a little bit north of that. And so I was looking at them when I was singing the song. And but just as I was standing there, all of a sudden I felt a tremendous power shoot through my head right on down to my toes. And I thought, oh, get those butterflies in sync. Man alive, that was pretty powerful. So then I knew that it was going to be fine. And so that's how, when I'm telling you these things, is how Spirit has worked with me in times of you think, oh, how is that going to work out? How is that stressful? Oh, well, but look at, when I got all done, and they had tears running down their cheeks, and I thought, oh, Lord, I hope it wasn't that bad. Then one lady walked up to me and she said, Connie, did you write that song for them? Special? And I said, oh, no. I said, I didn't. I just sang it. I said, Whitney Houston is the one that made this song. But I said, I just did my rendition of it. I said, I didn't try to imitate Whitney Houston. I couldn't. I'm not her. But I did take it, and I do think she influenced me because I don't know if she was in the spirit world at that time. I don't think so. But I can remember the first time I ever heard the song, and I thought to myself, oh, that's Whitney Houston's song. Oh, boy. So, and I thought, okay, I can do it. I know I can do it. And I did, and it worked out fine. So that's what I'm saying to you, is that no matter what you choose to do, you have to put your twist on it. You have to put yourself out there. And then it all comes together. You know why? Because your Heavenly Father chose you. Where did I read that? Did I just read that? I might have. That He chose you to do the things that you're doing today. You know, you said, yeah, I'm going to take that on. I'm going to do that. But I didn't know it was going to take me my whole life to be able to sit here and share with you folks. I'm not in my 50s anymore. And I'm like, oh my God, and I think if I were 50, I could be doing this, I could be doing that. And I thought to myself, oh no, God, this is good. You're where you're supposed to be. And you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And when I went through my own personal trauma in my life, I don't look at that as a bad thing anymore. Because when I tell you that I threw my carnal mind out and brought in the Christ consciousness, that healed all that. It just put a love spin on it that I never ever thought I would ever experience. And it's unconditional. I don't care about what. I hope they're happy. I hope everybody's happy. But at that time when I was going through all of this, it hurt. And I was like, oh boy. And it was like, are you kidding me? And I thought to myself, at my age, I should not have to be going through a divorce. After 30 years, 29, 30 years with a guy, what is up with that? And but now here I am, I'm happy. And I'm looking back at it and I think there were good times. I don't think about the bad times anymore. I think only of the good times that were had, about the laughter that was had, and all of the wonderful things that were happening at that time. When a person passes, we miss that person because we don't see them. And what do we remember? The joy, the fun. We don't remember the sad times. We try not to. We only remember the good times and the things that we can count on and say, oh yeah, I remember that guy made me laugh. And just to say, oh my goodness sakes, or that girl, it doesn't matter. It's just that you want to bring back to you what resonates or works for you. Don't try to be somebody else, or just be you. That word, be, capital B, little e. Just be in your oneness with your Father, with your Christ consciousness. It is so wonderful. Sometimes when I go into meditation, I don't create a bridge, or I don't create. Now I know a lot of people do, and I'll tell you, Neshe brings in does a tremendous meditation. I just love it. I'm going to incorporate that. But sometimes I just get in an elevator and I shoot on out. I'll just say, hey, I haven't got a lot of time today. I gotta do my business and get it over with. I got a show to show, or I got things to do. So those are kind of things that in the beginning of times, when you're reaching and trying to find yourself, make time for that meditation. Take time for your spirit world. Now here in my little house, I've said this to people. I have a conversation going on 24/7, and they're coming in and out. Some of them I know, some of them I don't know. And I've had one family come in at Easter. Was it Easter time? I think it was at Easter. Yeah. And I was cooking, and the lady identified herself, and I thought, I don't know you. And I thought, wait a minute, and I thought, I do know, I know of you. And it was so, and then I heard her call out, Jack. And I thought, Jack. And then I thought, oh, well, and then I realized it was her husband. But anyway, she says to me, well, welcome to the family. And I thought, welcome to the family? What are you talking about? And I did not realize, at that point that, but now I know what she was saying is that they're on the other side and they're watching, and they're part of us. They're part of us, whether we know them if we knew them in the physical or not. They're still part of us. And so it's like, oh, well, gee whiz, now I got some new friends on the other side. So that's cool. But because I was asking, because I don't do well with cooking rice. I don't know how come. I'm a potato girl. I haven't met a potato I didn't like. But that's how I was. I mean, I always learned how to cook potatoes in our household versus rice. And so I was having an Oriental guest in my home, and I thought, oh, I got to cook this rice and I got to get it right, you know? So, but anyway, everything turned out wonderful, but the processing. And so, and I was asking for help, and, so anyway, that person, whoever she was kind enough to come in and give me some assistance at that point. But those are just things that you ask yourself, and that's what I say here is that I don't have a lot of physical people coming in my home, and there's a reason for that. And I'm very cautious as to, because when I do my work, no matter what it is or how it is, I want it to be of Christ's nature, the Christ consciousness. And I sometimes will, if I know somebody's coming over, I will ask that any negative elements leave at the door. They cannot enter. If they are not of the Christ consciousness, they cannot enter my home. That's just it. I set that out there. I set the perimeters out there. And then I won't allow that negative element to step in. And that's really what I'm just trying to share with you today, is that there are times when we have to set our own rules and regulations. And I go out with folks and I meet them in a restaurant. But, you know, I'm not a drinker. I can't do that. And I have to give you some good news. Good news. This is good news. This is health-wise for me. And I went to the doctor and I got my blood work back, and he had smiley faces all over my blood work. Oh my goodness, I couldn't count all the happy faces. And my weight loss, of course, he was happy about that. But he was just more excited about my blood work. And he said, Connie, he said, honest to goodness sakes, he said, I can't believe, I think you're reversing yourself. He said, you're everything is looking younger on your blood work than it does older. And I just thought that was so cool. And he says, no, I'm going to give you a hug. So he hugged me twice before I got out of his office. And I thought to myself, what a guy. And he said, I don't know what I said to you a year and a half ago, but he said, whatever it was, you certainly took heed and you changed your lifestyle. And I did. And I am still trying to make that change. And I've divorced myself from, well, I can't say that. No, I did eat some red meat, but I've tried to eliminate the red meat type of processing. I don't eat any chicken anymore, and I don't eat any pork. I'm just doing the fish, vegetables, and fruit, things that I know that are organic and clean, and try to do that healthy thing even at this stage in my life. And I'm enjoying it. And so there's some good things. No sugar, no flour, no bread, no nothing. I have nothing in my house. I don't have any spaghetti. I don't have anything that I absolutely love. I don't have any of that stuff anymore. The only thing I have is some rice, and very little of that. But I try to be careful and eat the things that are necessary to keep my body in a healthy state of. And hopefully you will all do the same thing. I'm not saying everybody has to go out and be a vegetarian or a vegan or whatever. I don't say that I am. I just try to work on what, like if I'm having a bad day, food wise, and lately I've had some days where chocolate has been the culprit, really a tough one for me. And so, I have to zip by the candy aisle really fast, and because I'm thinking, nope, can't do that one. And so I do, I just know what I have to do, and it's hard. And so, but then what you do is then you say to Spirit, now, help me get through that so that I don't feel that I have to have that piece of chocolate or something chocolate. Like I was at the restaurant and I see them come in with a piece of chocolate cake that was like a fourth of a piece of cake. I mean, it was huge. And I said, that person's going to sit there and eat that? I thought, no way, no way. And I thought, nope, can't do that. But you know what? If that person, maybe their body would say, okay, I can digest this and I can have it and it's not a problem. Where in my body, that would not work. I would be very, very sick. And so you just have to know, and going through all these things that you're trying to analyze, and you say to yourself, well, why is Spirit telling me these things? And why are they showing me? Why? Because they want to raise your consciousness, take you to the Christ. Everything that we do, when we think about and everything, and sometimes when we have something that's not real, pleasant to deal with, and you have to say, oh, what am I going to do about this? What am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? So you have to ask yourself, okay, I want to act and I want to do things like my Father in heaven and like my Christ self. And that's how I handle it. And you too can incorporate that. It's not easy by any shape of the imagination. It is not. When you lose a loved one, your heart is broken and you just are crushed because you're lost. It's gone. It's not there anymore. That tenderness, that loving, that sweetness. But God then says, if you look to me, I will give you that joy and I will give you that peace that you need. And He will. It's just through whether or not you want to suffer, because you make the choice. I can say that because I walked that road and I decided I did not want to suffer and I didn't want to have a bitter heart. And so that's where I'm at with all of that. And another thing I want to just take a second, and I don't normally read, but today I found myself doing that. And but I want to share with you. I just love this book, A Year of Mystic Angels by Denise Iwana. I just love it. And because I have done so much work with the Archangel Uriel, I chose this one to read, and it's Shine Like the Sun. And when I was a little girl, I used to sing in the Baptist church, this little light of mine. Can't you just see it? This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine. And then she said, hide it under a bushel. No, I'm going to let it shine. See, those kind of little things you say, oh, all that fun things, the little things. And so, and then I learned to play on the piano a little song called The Sunbeam. And I thought, oh, isn't that a sweet? But it has to do with shining your light. And this is what this is. Shine like the sun. Bright, beautiful child of the one shining sun. This is Archangel Uriel, he who shines like the sun. I come this day to tell you that like my essence, you too shine like the sun. Shine like the sun, you ask. Indeed you do. Each time you feel the hunger spirit of another, you shine. Each time you clothe another in your unconditional love, you shine. Each time you shelter another in the warmth of your smile, you shine. Each time you uplift another with a loving hand, you shine. Each time you wipe a tear and replace it with a warm embrace, you shine. Each time you replace doubt with words of faith, you shine. Each time you help the blind to see the light within them, you shine. In the priest, king, Atlantis would begin each day. Let the light shine. Let your light shine. In the days of the Pharaoh's disposition, they would begin each day. Let the light shine. In the endless days of all time, we say, let the light shine. Many times we of the archangel of the angelic realms have come to you unaware. When I was hungry, when I was naked, when I was homeless, and when I was sick, and when I was lonely, when I was doubtful, when I was fearful, you let your light shine. In the light of the one who sees all, the Archangel Uriel. I love that. And when he was talking to me this morning, and I said, because there's different ones in here of his, and that's what they said. We want you to talk about shining their light, letting it shine. It's tough right now, and we don't always understand why things happen the way they do. We don't. You just have to have faith and know that we are all together, the oneness. And when you stop and think about how you arrived in watching either you're watching me live or maybe the archive, you know that there is a piece of you that's searching and wanting and knowing. And when I and I may have shared this with you before, that in my daily routine, when I know I have to leave my home, I always ask that on my right side is Saint Michael, Saint Uriel in front of me, Saint Gabriel on my left, and Saint Raphael on my backside. And I always ask the Christ above and our Holy Mother. I am absolutely always in my realm. When I realized, and this was a while back, I don't remember what year it was, probably 2003 maybe, I had a real spiritual experience with the Holy Mother's vibration. Now, and of course, I wasn't Catholic yet. Excuse me, again, my nose is must have something going on here. But anyway, for some reason, she was drawing me, and I didn't understand, and in different ways to join the Catholic Church and to live a whole lifetime. Well, I was raised Lutheran, but to go, and then different. I always was investigating. Needless to say, they're all good, no matter what. I didn't find fault with anybody, but one of the things that I guess that I wanted to share with you about our Holy Mother is that her spirit is willing to be with you. Remember when I said earlier, if you're really sincere, they're going to be there. They're going to come and they're going to grab a hold of you and they're going to say, we're going to be with you. We're going to live with you. We're going to be with you every moment. Remember I said be, they're going to be. And that's so important for you to understand. Don't discard all that stuff. I was actually prostrated on the floor. That's how strong it was. And so then I understood. Well, Lord knows I did not know that I was going to end up working again, working for the church in any capacity. All of a sudden, their accountant quit, and somebody said, "Oh, Connie, you're an accountant. You got to go see the priest, and you got to get in there." And and of course, by that time, I was a Catholic. And so anyway, I cleaned up a mess. I ended up going in, finding the mess, cleaning it up, and stayed there for 10 years. But in that time, I had the vicar, she was retiring, and I went to her retirement, and she hugged me and whispered in my ear. She said, "We cannot thank you enough for all that you have done, because without you, we would have lost those churches." And I said, "Oh, no, no, give me the credit." And she said, "Yes, we do give you the credit." And I thought to myself, it isn't, it was Spirit who led me and directed me. I was able to find the mistakes and fix them. Spirit directed me and told me what to do. Now, that's where I think that's where I excel, is that and even in my corporate world, there were all kinds of things that were going on, and I had to fix at the end. I ended up fixing and doing a $2 million turnaround. I mean, it was just that kind of stuff I knew how, because Spirit was leading and directing me. Now, I don't give that, I don't take any of the credit. I had the right people in place. The right people knew what they needed to do. And it just happened. So, but it wasn't me. I was just the vehicle. And sometimes if you can look at yourself and say, I am a vehicle for the good, and bring it forth within yourself. If you're dealing with a problem, take it to the Lord in prayer. Just take it with it and just let it go. And it'll all work out. I guess I'm being a little religious here at this point, if you want to say religion, because in spirit world, there's no religion. But in essence, we're in a physical body. We're spirits in this physical body. And it's hard. It's hard to, keep that momentum going where you feel really good about things and you want to say, okay, I can handle this situation. And no, you can. Just give yourself that pat on the back to love yourself and say, yes, I can do this. And no matter what it is, I don't care how difficult the situation is, and know that love will conquer all. It does. And of all the things that I am most grateful for, okay, is that I am able to be here with you each month. And I was nervous, talking about, a whole hour. And then I thought, well, okay, today I did not have any bullet notes. I just gave it from my heart. And I hope it worked out all right for everybody. And it did for me. So it's one of those things. And we have to know that going forward, every day is a new day. And we are blessed to have each and every one of you in our lives. And I am blessed just beyond to have Star Nations organization help me get through and do the show. I guess the word is gratitude in my heart. And I want you to know that till we come again, and hopefully maybe the next time when we get together, I'll have that other document that I wrote in shorthand that I couldn't cipher out. Maybe I can get that figured out. But anyway, needless to say, I hope that today will instill in you the oneness, the know that you are God, and the I am presence of the Christ is eternal. And blessings be.